After more than a year and a half of war, and after the cabinet approved the expansion of the fighting, the finance minister described the picture of victory in his eyes, saying that Gaza will be completely destroyed. Its citizens will concentrate south of the Morag and start leaving to other countries. They will despair. And they will be in a state of like catastrophe. He's saying that, you see, this savagery is barbarism. It's supported by your politicians and your leaders. If you're living in any country that supports this abhorrent barbarism that this genocidal entity is conducting, not only against Gaza, but against everyone in the region, sitting there causing problems after problems. Now, he's serious, but there's something interesting in his statement. What is that? He's saying in 6 months there will be no Hamas in Gaza. Why is he saying this? Why, and why did he not say this before? And why is he confirming that aid will go in? Well, firstly, Bezalel Smotrich was a man who refused to allow aid into Gaza. He was constantly criticizing Netanyahu for allowing any aid in, saying starve all of them to death. And there were people in Israel, the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer was legitimizing the starvation and saying it's legal to kind of starve people in the beginning. But in Israel, there have been people who said, well, let's starve all of them to death. Smotrich was one of them. Why is he saying that now that he's fine with allowing aid into Gaza and in 6 months there will be no Hamas? He also might be preparing the ground for the fact that there will be a deal. Israel will try and portray it as an absolute victory, or that Hamas submitted, similar to what Trump said about Yemen. They came and begged us, and they basically said, stop attacking, and we will stop attacking your ships. Clearly lies, trying to, make it appear to be as if they came and begged him, when really and truly the Americans were the ones who were actually going and attacking Yemen shamelessly, with all of the audacity, conducting mass terror in Yemen for the sake of a genocidal entity. That's what happened. And clearly the attacks of Yemen on these genocide supporting forces of the US were effective. That's why they reached a deal. If they were not effective, the United States wouldn't even look at them. They wouldn't speak with them. Likewise with Gaza. If Hamas was not capable, if Hamas was totally defeated, they wouldn't talk with Hamas, would they? They would enforce things on the ground. This is clearly showing that no, the resistance does work, and it's forcing the biggest power in the world, the United States, and one of the most equipped countries in the region. I'm not even going to use terminology like advanced or whatever. These people are backwards and barbaric. The genocide state, by the least equipped side, Gaza. Now, where are things going? This is the big question. If Smotrich is saying that in half a year there will be no more Hamas, well, that means he could be preparing the ground for a deal. That means he might be expecting that something might happen, and I want to justify my presence in the government. Therefore, I'm going to have to say from now that Hamas will be done. And because Hamas will be done in 6 months, we might get a deal now. That's one interpretation. The second interpretation is that Israel is totally delusional, detached even from the United States now, its biggest ally and supporter, and they are going ahead with what they think that they can achieve. But they are constantly met with reality checks. These reality checks are given to them, are handed to the government by the IDF Chief of Staff. Of course, the IDF Chief of Staff is a war criminal, like all of the others who are participating in this genocide and supporting it. But how is he trying to give them reality checks, and is he trying to potentially stop what Israel is doing now in Gaza? Firstly, I spoke about this several days back when he reported about the horror scenario. He basically came up with a scenario to the government, telling them that if we plan on expanding the operation in Gaza and going there with more troops, we will have a lot of soldiers killed. Again, from the IDF Chief of Staff, confirming what? Confirming that the resistance is capable, confirming that the resistance is strong, confirming that the resistance, like it put your child-killing troops' heads in the sand of Gaza before, they will put their hands in the sand of Gaza again. This is what he's confirming. They, of course, still going ahead and making these statements. But now he's saying something else and actually doing something else. What is he doing? He is going and sending more orders for the Orthodox community to go and serve. In this report, they're saying Chief of Staff the Mir decided on a drastic step which sends a message to the government. Against the backdrop of the widespread mobilization of reserves, Chief of Staff Eyal Zamir ordered a move that expected to cause a stir in the Haredi leadership. A stir in the Haredi leadership who are in the government for their own purposes, by the way, not because they love Benjamin Netanyahu, just because that they get the money, they get the funding for what they call the yeshiva, their religious institutions, and they constantly get exemptions from serving in the army, despite theatrics conducted by Netanyahu and his government that they're trying to force them into conscription. But he reached a deal with them, Netanyahu, with the Orthodox and Haredis, telling that no problem will pass it. He's been criticized by the opposition, by the others in the society in Israel, saying, well, why am I going to die for the third and fourth time, risking my life for Netanyahu when his son is not here anyway, bathing in Miami? And over half of the state almost are getting an exemption for religious purposes. So he already gave them an exemption. But the IDF Chief of Staff is using his power as the IDF Chief of Staff to send the orders to the people despite refusal from the government. What does that mean? That means that there are tensions between these people. That means he's doing something that could increase the tensions between Benjamin Netanyahu and key elements that hold his coalition together. Again, not necessarily for liking Netanyahu, by the way, for their own interest. These people, some of the religious groups, leaders in the Israeli government, they were arrested for corruption, by the way. Money and stuff. So they just want their money and they want to have exemption and they want to be funded by the state without serving. It's something that, of course, the rest of the society views as a strain and double standards and hypocrisy. Why are you doing that? Now he's sending the orders to them in defiance of the Israeli government and in defiance of Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, moving on, there was another statement made by Donald Trump that could also indicate that there is a real crisis happening, by the way, between him and the Netanyahu administration. What was that? Well, Donald Trump just landed a bombshell in relation to the Israeli prisoners in Gaza. Again, shocking everyone out of nowhere and without any coordination. What was it? He said that 3 hostages were killed, only 21 left alive in Gaza. In Israel, they said it's a shocking statement by the President of the United States. Second time they used the term shocking in reference to Donald Trump, in which he claimed almost casually that 3 hostages died in Hamas captivity, contrary to the official numbers in Israel's possession. The reliability of the information is unclear, and Israel has no confirmation of this. He also referred to Iran, the important period in its history. So Donald Trump is giving information about the people who Israel claims to be the most important in this whole campaign, the prisoners, the Israeli prisoners in Gaza, or what they call the hostages, and landing this information. Firstly, this could be classified information, very secret information, that the news are reporting. How did he get that information? He could have received this information from his direct negotiation with Hamas. Because don't forget, that was yet another step showing that there are differences between the US and Israel, or more cracks in that relationship. How? Well, Adam Bowler was spending months talking to Hamas, and then he had statements calling them nice guys like me and you, and reports that they were having Arab desserts after midnight with fresh orange juice. They could have given him information. Why? Because Hamas, from their side, they don't have a problem with the United States apart from its support for Israel. And they always said that we have a problem with the Zionist occupation. This is what they constantly say. No American, no nothing. Of course, the garbage propaganda of Western mainstream media constantly tells you, and fear mongering and whatever, but for the sake of the Zionists, not for the sake of anyone else. And they were criticized internally for that too. But he made this statement now. The families of the prisoners of war are sitting like the United States president is coming to tell us that people are killed, and our prime minister is not telling us that 3 of them have been killed. Do you see how that could be a deliberate attempt or a deliberate move coming from Donald Trump to show Benjamin Netanyahu in a bad way to the Israeli public? Him declaring that 3 of them were killed, only 21 left. Who's the one to look at now? Netanyahu. The people will tell him, well, why are you keeping this information for us? Why is the American president saying this? You're supposed to be best friends with him. Are you hiding something from us that we don't know? And what led to the United States president to make such a statement in relation to such a sensitive topic to the whole world? And if it's true, then look, you are killing the Israeli prisoners inside of Gaza for your own interest and for your own benefit. This is serious. This is serious, and this could cause a lot of trouble for Benjamin Netanyahu, who already has a lot of trouble. Now, again, this could be a move, and the Israeli moves led by Netanyahu could be moves made as preparation for the potential of reaching a ceasefire, especially with them giving Hamas this last chance, right? Or we will go into Gideon's chariots. That's on that front. Then Israel was crying about everything burning. The Zionist entity was crying that things were burning. They got things relatively under control now. But their rabid squatters in the West Bank keep burning Palestinian lands. Olive trees, thousands of years old, older than their hideous faces, way older. They're burning them and going there protected and supported by the Israeli army and conducting these arsonist attacks against the population that, of course, in many cases lead to killing. When I commented about the BBC's Louis Theroux documentary, I made one point, that the squatting establishment, or what's labeled as the settlement establishment in Israel, is not the settlement establishment, it's Israel as a whole. Stop trying to show us and tell us that, oh, it's these settlers. Who protects them? Israel protects them. The government protects them. Central government, left or right. The leftists in Israel, or those who call themselves leftists or the opposition, who criticize some of the settlements, the settlers and settlement establishment, are big hypocrites, because they are the ones who facilitated this establishment and constantly supported it. But there's a big problem, and that big problem is Israel used to try and hide this as much as possible alongside its backers. But now the problem is that these people in power, and they're portraying things as they are. And from an Israeli perspective, that's problematic. However, this terror of the Israeli squatters has been supported since the establishment of the state. And there is no difference between the rest of the state and the squatting establishment. The only difference is the other side hides the truth, whereas those openly speak as they actually believe. The others might, try and hide it, say, oh, no, it's not good for the PR. Let's hide it. Let's cover up. But no, the settlers tell you, this is us. This is our establishment. And this is what we do. Then the Palestinian president Mahmoud Abbas is visiting Lebanon. Why is he visiting Lebanon? He's visiting Lebanon to disarm the Palestinian resistance. Why exactly is he planning to disarm the Palestinian resistance? Because, well, there's no need for armed resistance against a very peaceful country that constantly, gives you whatever you want and gives you your rights and is so peaceful with you. Why should anyone have arms when we have such a wonderful country next to us that is giving us exactly everything that we want? He's going to Lebanon to try and coordinate with the Lebanese government how they will go into the refugee camps in Lebanon and start disarming the Palestinian resistance. Why? Because the Palestinian resistance participated in some of the actions of the Lebanese resistance against Israel when we had an escalation or an open front from Lebanon. And the Lebanese government recently made a statement, well, some figures in the Lebanese government criticizing Hamas, and now the Palestinian president is coming to Lebanon and saying this. But there's a very big problem. And do you know what that problem is? That problem is the president, firstly, has no popularity or support in Palestine, let alone in Lebanon. In Lebanon, leaders of the Fatah movement have openly criticized the Palestinian president Mahmoud Abbas, who's the de facto leader of Fatah and the de facto president of the Palestinian Authority. Therefore, chances are slim that people are going to coordinate with him. Slight chances, by the way. And this man isn't liked. As a matter of fact, if you ask anyone in the West Bank or most people in the West Bank, does Abu Mazen represent you? Does Mahmoud Abbas, the Palestinian president, represent you? They'll tell you he doesn't represent my shoe. Now, good luck to him trying to convince those in Lebanon to disarm or what have you. Again, unless it's part of a bigger strategy coming in Lebanon to defend Lebanon as a whole and to stop these aggressions that are coming. I mean, some people are talking about disarming and disarming. This is when everything is violated by the satanic state next to them, constantly being attacked by them, constantly being bombed by them, and they're going and saying, oh no, we should stop the resistance. Well, are you thinking straight? Who are you working for exactly? And this man, who's, by the way, a billionaire, his children are billionaires, they own hotel chains, lots of money. As a matter of fact, even the UAE, one of the UAE representatives in one meeting that they had with the Arab states called them the authority of Alibaba and the 40 thieves, because of how corrupt they are and how much they steal money. That's the reality of the Palestinian Authority led by Abu Mazen Mahmoud Abbas. And he's going to Lebanon. Good luck succeeding with that. But again, it shows you how misled and misguided and astray many of the Arab countries are in terms of leadership and people leading them. Again, a genocide happening for 1.5 years. Who's acting? Who's doing anything? Yemen. That's it. As in the whole country. Of course, we had the Lebanese resistance at one point, some movements in Iraq too, and Iran participated too. Iran, of course, has the overall support as well, which is a very important factor as well. But no, some countries know that their priority is, oh no, stop doing anything. What has the other side given you? Any sort of what? Peace offers or what? What did they give you? These people are supremacists by nature, supported by powers who are supremacists by nature. They view you as nothing. They look down at you. They look at you and laugh. And you're trying to please them? Are you even thinking? Plus, who on earth goes and gets rid of their power cards when they want to negotiate with someone? whether it's in business or in politics or in anything. Oh, hello, I want to deal with you, but I have nothing to give. Please give me something. I mean, is there any logic to that? There is no logic for that. But it shows that this man is a small little puppet who is there doing a job. He is doing a job at the end of the day. And that job is to legitimize the continuation and the existence of the Israeli occupation. He is not there apart for that reason. The Palestinian Authority of the West Bank, under that authority, Israel expanded its squatting establishment, expanded the number of squatters from 100,000 to approximately 1 million, constantly killed people, instilled its apartheid of the West Bank, stolen more lands, expanded all of the what they call the settlements, abused more Palestinians, detained and killed and imprisoned and kidnapped more Palestinians, and besieged locations, starved many people, destroyed more homes. And this man is sitting there cooperating with them. As a matter of fact, under their thumb, doing as he's told. A puppet for the Zionists. This is what he's doing. And he's trying to do that with Lebanon too.